دایی یه فرصت خوب حالا پشت مدافعان خداداد عزیزی توی دروازه گل برای ایران خداداد عزیزی باز هم روی زمین گشت سردار آزمون و توی دروازه سردار آزمون گل به نام آزمون و برای ایران
بزنه کریم انصاری گل توی دروازه کریم انصاری دروازه پرتغال باز شد
علی دایی سام توپ توی دروازه
اشتباه حرکت از کوچان نژاد فرصت برای کوچان نژاد توی دروازه گل برای ایران.
Welcome back to Go Bizan. I'm your host today, Samson Tamijani. We're mixing up the lineup. We're following in the footsteps of Mr. Ghalenoei and mixing up the lineup for this episode. I have with me Pezhman and Sahand, Salari. Guys, what's up?
Hi, Samson. Nice to be back.
Yeah, nice to be back.
All right, Sahand, we're going to give you a chance to defend why Ghalenoei is the genius that he is. But first, I want to just review, just take a deep breath with everyone and just recap what we saw. We saw a bit of a slow start of defensive organization in the first few minutes. However, Mehdi Taremi continues to shine this tournament. He's the one bright spot. The other bright spot may be the fact that we don't have any yellow cards, I think. That's pretty much the best things that we can say about this tournament so far for Iran. We got our hopes up a little bit with really good finishing in the first match against Palestine. I think we dipped back into why we were criticizing some of the lineups in the first place months and months ago with what happened in this match. A 1-0 win only for Iran, despite all of our predictions, maybe getting a bit ahead of ourselves, thinking this would be another route. But as is the case with most of the big boys in Asian football, closer than we think. And that is indeed what happened, 1-0. I just want to ask initial reaction to what we saw. We thought there were going to be changes at halftime. Some changes came later, all 5 subs, none of them really making that much sense. We'll go into the lineups a little bit in a few minutes, but guys, just initial reactions now that you've had at least a day to soak it in. Sahand, I'll start with you first.
Well, I guess he tried to rotate the lineup, which I think is reasonable because it seemed like the opposition was going to be, even weaker than the first game. I think Palestine showed they were a pretty good team actually against UAE. They probably should have won that game. So I think the fact that maybe the first game they were a little bit nervous and they have obviously a lot on their mind, but and we scored early, so maybe that threw them off. But I thought we had a good first game, and maybe the second game, I think the staff and definitely the players took Hong Kong lightly. And I think we played Hong Kong kind of recently, and it was a very easy game for us. And we won 4-0. So I think maybe the players weren't ready. And I think it was mentioned afterwards by Taremi that the players just really weren't up for the game. And to credit to Hong Kong, they showed a lot of improvement since we played them in November. And I thought in terms of their speed and their pressing and kind of their just general energy on the pitch, they had a higher energy level than us. And also, I think to me, one of the big takeaways was that we can't rotate our team because we don't, the drop off when we rotate our team. Okay, against Hong Kong, maybe it was okay to do it and give some people a rest or people who are having niggling injuries or something. But as we get deeper into the tournament, I think we really only have 13 players that we can use, maybe 14 players that we can use. Which is, that's in a large part Ghalenoei's fault because he called up a squad of 26 players and a lot of them are not usable players. I mean, they're just not physically, even if you don't want to get into their technical or tactical capabilities, but physically they dropped off a lot, some of them, the older guys. And maybe for some of us that don't watch a lot of them regularly, you can see now, okay, this guy's old, they can barely move. So yeah, that was my main takeaway.
Pezhman, not exactly even with the limited rotation that he had with these 26 players, not exactly the rotation that would have provided more production. It's about was about negative 12 degrees Celsius where I'm right now in the U.S. And I think that's still not as cold as our offensive production and our defensive stability in the game. What do you think?
Nice analogy. Um, I mean, yeah, you can say it was really cold, or you can say like we're close to hell, the way we saw the game play, or at least try to play. Um, I mean, I can't name a single player who I think was decent during the entire game or for a longer period. From Beiravant in goal, who should have received a red card, in my opinion, late in the game, handball outside of the area. Uh, to the offense with Taremi and Moranlu not having any dynamic. Taremi being the good player that he is, have been struggling in these two games, but his movements are good. You can see that he's been in Europe for a long time, but against Hong Kong, I think we all expect a bit more from all of these players. So, in my opinion, none of them. I mean, maybe it's good that we can rotate a little bit, because it showed that none of these players should be safe for a starting place in the squad. At the same time, as Sahand mentioned, I mean, we don't really have that much to offer on the bench anyway. So yeah, it was a bit worrying to see how bad each and every player could be. It was like their worst version of themselves ever, which was kind of funny in a sad way.
And I think the it's reassuring in a way, but it's also that much more discomforting knowing that we're talking about this despite the fact that Iran achieved all 3 points. They are for sure in the next round. Every objective on paper uh, points to progress, except for maybe the amount of goals. I mean, heck, just even looking at the possession, it technically has Iran getting 70.5% of the possession in this match. Although Sahan made a really good point in that probably 40% of that in real time was just the ball being out of play or a free kick. It was just, it was like watching a kind of a PE class in a
I don't
primary
really
school.
think I don't really think the possession thing really. I mean, how we didn't have that many clear-cut chances. I mean,
That's what
even
I'm
if you
saying.
compare
That's what
the
I'm saying.
Palestine, yeah, it was like it was weird how we really struggled. I think a couple times Ramin was like had some runs that Kudus picked him out or something, but Mohan had like a header. But by and large, I think we struggled in I think every part of the game.
We saw not a lot of reading the game as much, trying just the usual drills, the usual passes, the usual things between two or three guys who know each other, but not expanding the imagination really. Whereas I think Hong Kong did their homework. They looked at the film of the last time that these two teams played, and they worked on what they could. They just couldn't overcome their shortage of talent. That being said, Iran didn't have quite the talent that they could have brought in, other than the fact that no one seemed to have been in their right mind. What I was saying earlier is that they seem to have taken the day off. Look forward to maybe the third match, or maybe they thought the group matches were already over. Now it's time to look to the second round. Mogan Lu had a great chance with the header, but he was offside anyway. On the second post, missing that chance. I'm not sure if it was him or Taremi who missed that cross sent in from the right side. Javanbakhsh looked like he was in slow motion as always. Ezatolahi, he came off the bench. He looked like slow motion as always. Saman looked like he kind of ran out of ideas. Overall, the passing was very slow. These guys were hesitant to release the ball, I felt. Milad Mohammadi not very reliable. Kenani, Hosseini, not their best matches. Ramin, as we were just talking about, not his best game, although he tried to go on his runs to produce more, but just every single ball didn't seem to go to the right place. In terms of the lineup, what do we need to see change, knowing that this is not probably the 26-man roster that we would have loved? What do we need to see in this final group stage or the final group stage to at least get some momentum going to the second round?
I think it's really important that, I mean, we have this last game now, and it's probably the hardest game in the group, and that players have a chance to bounce back. But it's also very important, I think, for the staff, because, okay, now we can say since this camp started, they had basically 4 matches to test things out. They had the game against Burkina Faso, they had the game against Indonesia, then they had the game against Palestine, and now they had Hong Kong where they rotated. So they had 4 games. Almost everyone got minutes. And now it's, I think, you have to put your strongest team. And from now on, whatever you put on the field, because what you put on the field against the UAE, you hope they build some continuity, and then you're going to keep the same guys for the knockout stage matches. And so I think the lineup is going to be really important. And from what I saw in just these couple games, I think, I don't know what the situation with Gholizadeh is, but I think there's really a strong possibility that Javanbakhsh needs to be totally removed from the lineup. So that would be my first thing. I think I don't want to like bash him or anything. And he gives like defensive effort and stuff still, but with the ball, he's killing us. He really is killing us most of the attacks. His decision making, his speed at his decision making, something is like clearly wrong with him. And there's a reason he barely plays at club level. And I don't think he's actually played for his club 1 minute since that injury he got against Hong Kong in November. So you're talking about somebody who, like, yeah, he's rusty and he was already kind of regressing to begin with, but I don't know. I think he should be gone. So I would say, yeah, Gholizadeh, I hope, is fit enough to come in. Torabi is another guy who I think played a really good game against Uzbekistan in the first half. So that's another player that I hope, they can incorporate. I know he had like an injury. And Osmoon, obviously, yeah, we saw the drop off between Osmoon and Mokhonlu, so we knew that. Hopefully he's fit. And for the defense, I think Moharami had a really strong first match. I think he should probably be started. I mean, we have Ramin, but Ramin was also injured for a couple of weeks, so maybe that's one position that you could be a toss-up. And on the left side is probably our biggest problem. I think we've talked about that before, but whether we pick Milad or Haj Safi, both of them are kind of a mess. And Haj Safi, the first game against Palestine, his side was getting attacked so much in the second half. And then Milad was doing stuff in this game that we were like, I mean, this guy played so many years in Europe and he's still doing this stuff. So yeah, I think they have to get the lineup right, because whatever he picks, he needs to stick with it moving forward.
Pezhman, I want your answer, but also if and when, hopefully, we see the 2 main guys we were just talking about, Osmoon and Gholizadeh, will they be fresh for this match or will they be cold, as the other guys were in the second game?
I mean, one thing about Gholizadeh is like he's coming off from a long injury. Haven't really got any minutes in Poland, so that can be an issue. Like, how fit is he for real? It's hard to say. And Osmoon, we've seen him play, getting some minutes in Roma, but if I'm not mistaken, I think the reason he didn't play was like a small thigh injury, I believe. I don't know if that's confirmed or not, but I think Osmoon is probably the biggest, most important player we have to put in the mix, because his chemistry with Taremi is really great. Those 2 guys can find each other, and those 2 can, on their own, change the game by themselves. And now I kind of hope like a golden triangle with Saman Ghoddos, Sardar Azmoun, and Mehdi Taremi up front, doing being kind of creative and finding each other and doing that, that extra that's like becoming from an Asian player to like a European kind of style, if you know what I mean. And regarding in defense, I would probably pick Ramin ahead of Sadek, to be honest. But as Sahand mentioned, it's on the left side that we have some issues. I mean, I really like try to give Milad the opportunity or like the benefit of the doubt, but I mean, there's a reason Ehsan is still playing, and there's a reason he's ahead of him in their club team as well in Greece. So if I have to choose, I would probably go with the more experienced Ehsan Haj Safi, but both of them need to say goodbye to the national team after Asian Cup, in my opinion. Um, yeah,
I think
Javanbakhsh for Qolizadeh, I agree, or Qolizadeh for Javanbakhsh, but it depends on how fit he is, to be honest.
I think Torabi could also play there. I think that
Torabi is injured as well.
In general, I think the level of technicality, like you're saying, we need to bring it up. So that triangle you mentioned with Ghoddos and Azmoun and Taremi, but we have other players, Qolizadeh and Torabi, who can contribute on that front too. And I think right now what we see is that our defensive stability is nowhere near what it used to be because we're playing a lot more open. And so I think it's like not really gonna work in the middle of the tournament to try and fix like our defensive structural issues that are clearly there when we play this style. I think it's more effective at this point if we just say, look, if we can get the players on the field that are kind of the most technical, the ones that can combine at a higher level, kind of European level with each other, and win games that way. Then I think like the combination, and we've seen this before when Ghoddos is there with Qolizadeh, with Azmoun, with Taremi, with Torabi also. Players that have speed and kind of agility, and that what Samson was mentioning before, they kind of have a little bit out of the box and can produce something that maybe the opponent isn't expecting, so they have a bit more variability in their game. I think that's probably the best way forward. Because certain guys, I think Moghanu, Javanbakhsh, sorry to cut you off, Cheshmi, these kind of guys are very predictable. Even besides going into whether they're good or not, but their actions are super predictable. And I think that we can improve with just the right players.
Predictable. I think that's an understatement. I think you hit it right on the head. Go ahead, Pezhman.
Yeah, about the defense, I think Cheshmi got his chance to like prove himself with Saeid being kind of semi-injured or just for the rotation. I don't know, but we're not here to bash these guys. They're professional, but Cheshmi maybe had probably one of his worst games in the national team against maybe one of the weakest opponents he ever played against. That's kind of disturbing. And he was like the reason for Bayram Van coming out and grabbing the ball outside of the box, which, as I said, probably should render in a red card. And unfortunately, Majid Hosseini, like, I don't know if how much we can blame him because all the players were kind of weak. But now that Shoja Khalilzadeh were injured and other guys said that Majid should be a starter anyway, I couldn't see him being an improvement against Shoja, to be honest. As I mentioned before, or maybe some people don't know, like I still believe that the duo Shoja and Kanani is the best we have today. And for Majid, I think he made a strong case for that as well. He almost made like an assist to Hong Kong to score a goal. So there's some troubles there as well. And to be honest,
Majid,
like this.
Not to cut you, I think Majid, to me, I've seen his games in Turkey past couple of years, and he's playing really well there. I think he's when he's shifted to the left side of the center backs, when he's the left-sided center back and he's right-footed, he wants to play out, but he's right-footed on the left side. And so that kind of limits his options when he's playing out, and there's more turnovers than I'm definitely like used to seeing from him. So I think if Shoja is fit, Shoja should take the left-sided spot. Like Hasbavi would have been a better option, I think, for the left-sided center back spot. But okay, Shoja, and then you pick one of Kanoni or Hosseini on the right side where they're both more comfortable.
Yeah, for me, Kanoni is the number one starter of all of them, to be honest. And here's the saddest part that I have like realized, like our defensive midfielder. The first pick is Ezatolahi. The second seems to be Cheshmi, and the third seems to be Omid Ebrahimi. And today, at this point, I believe the 40-year-old guy, really old, Omid Ebrahimi, is probably the best choice, to be honest, because he doesn't make those mistakes that that Saeid and Ruzbe makes. And those two are reliability, and I'm just amazed that they haven't received a yellow card yet, because I think they both should have got one in both the games.
Not to mention the penalty that could have been with Cheshmi pulling the Hong Kong player by the shirt, as well as, and you mentioned Baron Van getting a little fist to the ball 20 yards outside of the penalty area, neither of which were subject to VAR. I think, I don't know, maybe the whole officiating crew is ready for that game to be over just based on how ugly it was, with no one being able to string 2 or 3 decent passes together. Anyone final thoughts on just the actual play itself on the field? Or
I still think Ezatolahi is our best, like for better or worse. I don't remember a big game, a big Iran match that Ezatolahi didn't have a good game. I think honestly, if you look at the history of him in the big games, he's always played strong. It doesn't matter what his situation is at club level or otherwise, and sometimes in these other games he looks a little bit off the pace, but he's always shown, even in this last World Cup against Wales and against the US, where everyone else had a poor game, but he's always shown he has the technical ability to lift his game. And so I think I would still trust him over Omid, especially for playing with only 2 people. Omid, I watched him in the stadium and in Russia, and he was so, good back then and able to cover so much ground and so fast and aggressive. But it's natural. It's been 5 years since then. The guy's not the same player. He can't move as fast, and he's become a lot more stiff and less agile. And it goes back to the selection in the first place. I'm just confused when they were making this selection for the team, why they chose this many guys with kind of similar profile and similar weaknesses. If we had a faster profile as a center mid option, even if it was a guy from the league, somebody younger, then right now that would be pretty helpful, I think.
But which one are we going to see? Which side are we going to see? The one who loses his man or is one step behind his man and has to foul him right outside the box or inside the box sometimes?
Yeah, it's a risk. It's a risk you have to take. But then again, that's what we have to work with. So you can say that Saeid, even taking into account all the problems he has and the chance that he might give away fouls, but still his level, generally speaking, in this kind of midfield system you're playing with just him and Qudus, it's going to be Saeid, and we hope that he has a good game. That's all you can do, really.
Well, I think a lot of it starts with the leadership, how they prepared this team for the second game. When you're a superior team, when you are a favorite, this second match can always be a trap game in a way, because you had all the buildup with all the friendlies getting ready for this first match. You take care of business. You know that the strongest opponent is probably the third match. And you think to yourself, should I mix it up with the lineup in the second game? Should I let some guys rest? Should I keep it going to keep the momentum? Do I not want to get guys hurt? And we saw the effects of the second match. And from Amir Ghalenoei, he had to answer for that after the match. And he said in the press conference, a little bit of a, translation and paraphrasing here, but He said, quote, "For 8 years, they spent so much money on this team," they meaning the federation, "gave them so many facilities," as the demand of Queiroz, as we all know, had the best camps. Everyone supported them, even the president. Speaking of the president of Iran, the country, not just the federation. Either they were not brave enough to criticize Queiroz, or they want to bring this team down. I don't know about you guys. I really take issue with that. When you are the manager of one of the top sides in Asia, you win a game, which you can't. There's two ways you can go about this. One way, you say what worked and said what didn't work, we're going to have to work on in the training ground. We still have a mission here to win the Asian Cup. That's what my guys are working for. Or you can take the dramatized role and make it about how you're the victim. And I think that's what he did, at least with this part of the press conference. And I think that was the wrong move. I think he had so many ways to go about this, and he went about it the most immature way. And I think it could spur divisions within the team camp, because most of your star players came because of Queiroz's guys scouting him and finding them and raising them through the system, and they're still very much loyal to him. And here you are bashing how everything was run. And by the way, we're in the middle of the Asian Cup and you're saying this. And so it spurs a lot of negativity. It's really disheartening to see. I'm curious what you guys think of the leadership at this point for the camp.
I mean, I think in some ways he has a point in that, well, we just played a game. We played 2 games. We played one really good first game, which, I mean, we pretend like it didn't happen, but we did have a good first game. And yeah, we had a bad second game, but we're in the middle of a tournament and we look around at the other kind of favorites and they all are having problematic games. Japan just lost. Before that, they conceded 2 goals versus Vietnam. South Korea just tied Jordan, the same Jordan side that we beat a couple months ago, that people were like, oh, like, who cares about beating Jordan? And, so I think Ghalenoei, and he always had this thing even before, if you can go look at his interviews, he's always been like kind of like a victim. He always tries to present himself as the victim, which is kind of Iranian cultural thing, actually. So it's not surprising that he goes back to that in the press conference. But I will say that, yeah, like the fact that we're in the middle of a tournament and we had a bad game, I still think that a little bit of the reaction is, if Ghalenoei wasn't the coach and it was somebody else, I tend to think the reaction from the press and from the fans and stuff would be a little bit different. So Ghalenoei kind of sees himself as and his team as an easy target because he's the coach. So it's not, like you say, it's not ideal, but I don't think also it's really worth talking that much about in terms of, if it's going to bring division to the team. I doubt it, because Ghalenoei actually has a good relationship with Queiroz, and they met just a couple of months ago, and when we played them, and they hugged and stuff, and they were all cool. So I don't think it will cause any problems in the team. Other things definitely might, his coaching, but not this.
Pezhman, what did you think of that, or his leadership in general, how he's managed these matches?
I don't have much to add. I think I agree with Sahand, and we have to understand maybe this was like a genius move, making the media not actually thinking about the players, how the players played, and just focus, like giving all the negative focus and energy on him instead of the players. I don't know if that was like a Jedi mind trick of him, or he's just used to be in this Iranian media mentality. I mean, this is what he's born with, and this is what he knows. Like one of our greatest football players, Ale Doye, when he was a coach, he basically did the same things, to be honest. So maybe this is his way of protecting the players, and I don't know how much we should read into that, because as Sahand said, he's basically partially right, probably, but that doesn't change anything. The politics, the talking about the after Queiroz era. I mean, we are living in it now, and we should like deal with it now. And for your question about like how he's been in general, I mean, it's hard to say. We just have to see the results. And so far, he's won more or less every game against teams that we want, that Iran is supposed to win against. So his first big tests will probably come in one or two games, but against UAE, as we also mentioned before, it's like his chance or his opportunity to uh, fix, so to say, the 11 players and make sure that those players who are playing and those tactics that they have will be implemented in the game, because the kind of game they're playing against Hong Kong, they won't even win against like teams like Syria or Uzbekistan and like Bahrain and those kind of teams, even less
Yeah.
UAE. Yeah.
I mean, with Ghalenoei also, you have to consider everything, not just the bad or the things you think are like outrageous that he says, or some of his behavior on the touchline, but you have to take into consideration, the fact that now Salman Kudus is his starter and he put him as a central midfielder. I think that had a big positive impact on how the team plays when all the starters are in the first half against Uzbekistan and the game against Palestine. I think that and for a long time we thought this and we talked about this. So why don't we just use Salman as a midfielder? And we often thought using him in a three-man midfield with another traditional midfielder to help cover ground like Nurullahi, maybe that still would have been the best way for this team even now. But whatever way he chose, he integrated him, and that was a big deal, I think. And he was there's been multiple coaches that didn't give Salman playing time, and he was the one who was brave enough to do it. And Salman mentioned that he speaks so much to me and gives me what tells me what he wants me to do, gives me positive energy. And so I think, I mean, look at what he did with Qaedi. A lot of people, including myself, wrote Qaedi off. And even Ghalenoei didn't call him up for like a while. The whole time, basically, the last year, he didn't call him up after the CAFA tournament. He was so bad then. And that helped Qaedi work harder for his club, and then called him back. And a lot of people were critical of it. But in the first two games, you can say he's been one of the brightest spots. And even if he doesn't keep his place as a starter, he's definitely like a weapon that we have now. So I don't think it's all, just looking at it as, oh, this guy, Ghalenoei is such an idiot, or making fun of him. He's doing some good things. And the thing with dealing with the media, that's like typical Mazlum Namai, what we call that. And he's always done that. And that's just his style, and the style of basically every Iranian coach. If you, like Pezhman said, if you go look at our league, the coaches that like Nekunam right now, Yahya, constantly quitting every 3 weeks when he doesn't get what he wants. So it's just a normal thing. If you have an Iranian coach, this is the mentality they come with,
Yeah, it's a super toxic environment that they used to. So I mean, we have to take that in consideration and see the context of it.
Well, I would like to see trophies won and advancing without a bunch of injuries against teams ranked under 99 in the world. I would love to see you avoid any kind of mental trick with the press, with your players. I would like to avoid that when you're playing against weaker competition, and avoiding injuries as well. And I will say, with Queiroz, I think you brought up a great point, Sahand. He didn't utilize Saman as well as he could have, and Ghalenoei has. So that's a very good point. At the same time, Queiroz had bad games as well.
Yeah, and
we called him out. We called him out. I can't speak for others, but I know that this platform gave very straightforward criticism to what we thought did not work from Queiroz and what we could not really understand from Queiroz. So let's not act like everyone has always thought he was angelic, especially not in Iran. He dealt with years of these campaigns from certain television hosts and pundits who were very much against what he was doing. And the difference here is, no matter what, You can change your view of where you think it was good or bad. What you can't change is the resume he had and his track record and accomplishments compared to a coach who is Iranian. So again, you don't have to make it a battle of apples to apples when it's not really apples to apples. So, but regardless, I think Pezhman was right. It does give a chance to maybe for the players to not think about having to blame all on themselves. And another idea I do have with that, because I do want to move along to another topic here, is that maybe we can spend just a few seconds on this. I think one thing that people aren't really talking about is how Taremi was very quiet this last game, and really the first game as well. We thought he would maybe break out and be doing what Gaidi was doing. It's displaying his quality with great finishes, great dribbles, and he had a couple against Palestine. We didn't see it as much against Hong Kong. Do we think Inter Milan or any of these rumors around him are getting to him at all, or do you think that he's maybe not taking it as seriously? Because we don't want to see him get his pocket picked by a couple of guys from Hong Kong, or for that matter, a couple of guys from UAE, because he is in a different class. Will we see him, I guess, show out and blossom in this next match? Is he just kind of still, are we waiting for him to still wake up?
No, I think he's an experienced player, and I mean, if you just look at how he's played, yeah, I guess his form is like not as good as it was this year compared to last year, but I mean, his form has been, if you take the last couple of years in general, his form has been incredible. I think a little bit he's probably pacing himself because he knows he's gonna have to play like basically all the minutes because of Sardar not being like totally reliable fitness wise, and because of the fact we lack really quality there, that he has to play a lot. And I think a little bit he was pacing himself, and a little bit he was just sloppy. When you try to do that and not take it 100% to try and conserve your energy, then even the technical things, which don't really have a lot to do with you're trying to conserve energy, they can drop off too. And so I think he was loose with his passing, especially. But I think when it matters, that he will be there. And anyway, it's not like we have any better to put.
Yeah, I was about to say it's not like he's getting a whole lot of help. I don't think Asadi and Morgan Lu are being good good sidekicks for him.
Yeah, striking partners.
Yeah, Pezhman, I don't know if you had anything else to add on that in terms of offensive production.
No.
Yeah, but anyway, moving on then, in terms of the competition that we will face in this third match, it will decide the winner of the group. UAE having 4 points and Iran 6 points. And the last, almost every single match Iran has played against UAE in the last 13, 14 odd years have been 1-0. 1-0, just looking right here on my notes, 1-0 in the World Cup qualifying to 2014, the 2010. In the Asian Cup in 2011, Iran did win 3-0. 1-0 in the 2015 Asian Cup, 1-0 and 1-0 in the 2022 World Cup qualifiers. And Iran just came off of a 1-0 win again. So should we, I know we had a bit of a negative experience against Hong Kong, but should we expect again a 1-0 or 1-goal type game, or maybe even a draw? What should we pace ourselves for, guys? Pezhman?
I think we can expect a draw, to be honest. I mean, Iran will win the group, probably. And the question is, what players will play? Will the players that we hope for, like preparing the team for the next phase, play? Or do we need to rest them because hopefully there will be a longer tournament waiting? Will Karim take Moranlou's place if Sardar isn't fit? Will that make any difference? I mean, it's important to see how the team bounces back. I do believe that Iran will actually win by a 1 goal margin, like 1-0 or 2-1 probably. I can't see this defense struggling this much against Hong Kong, making it a better game versus UAE. But it will be really interesting to see how the team bounces back. And UAE needs to win, most probably, to go to the second round, which could be good for Iran because Iran is kind of good on the counterattacks. And an early goal from Iran could open the floods for 4 and 5 as well.
Yeah,
I,
Sahan,
I
before you go, Sahan, just so we all are aware, Iran has not lost an Asian Cup match. They have to pace themselves with keeping guys not injured because so many are, and that's another discussion with conditioning and taking care of their bodies. But they kind of also need a win to carry forth more momentum. Is this a case of keeping guys healthy and preserving and doing it just enough to win the group, set yourself up nicely, or do you need to attack this game to gain momentum for the rest of the cup?
don't think so. I think we need to win the game and they need to respond because they had a bad game. I mean, we won, but it feels like we didn't win. And there's been like criticism. Ghalenoei knows that, and he obviously it affected him too because he's saying weird stuff. So I think he's pissed, and he looked super pissed on the side. So I think if he puts the strongest lineup, like this is our lineup moving forward, maybe minus like one guy or something. I think we should win, and I think I doubt we keep a clean sheet too, but I think 2-1 or 3-1 we can win. But about pacing, I mean, like trying to keep guys fit. To me, it's not. I mean, like Torabi and Golizade situation because I guess they came in with knocks, which is weird. I mean, Golizade got fit and played a couple games in Poland and then came back. I don't know if he had another small injury, so we're not sure about those guys. But in general, I mean, injuries are a part of playing. You know, you look at South Korea, their goalie just tore his ACL in practice and training. So this sort of stuff happens, and the team just has to. We know we have a problem with depth, but I think it's much more important that we win this game, because if we don't win this game and have like a tie and another bad game with all this negativity, then going into knockout games, it's going to be even more difficult for the team, and then disaster can like happen right there. So I think they're going to be strongest team and put in a strong performance. I hope.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Now, just recapping the potential matchups that Iran could face. Guys, help me out here. Iran win the group, and they would play against the best third place between groups. Is it A, C, and F, or do I have that right? So I thought you knew. You're proofing us a few days ago on that.
I think we're gonna play. I don't know if it will change. I mean, it depends. But if we win and other results go as like they're expected, I think we're gonna play Syria as the next game, as the round of 16. I think, but I'm not sure 100%. But that's what I have been told.
So far, the best third place teams, I mean, just have 3 points, and those are Bahrain, Indonesia, and then 1 point, Syria, Tajikistan. So we don't really, I mean, it's too early to tell so far. But in terms of, I'm trying to make sure I get this right.
Like Syria is playing, I forget who. They have a game against like the weakest team in that group, I think. And Syria to me looked pretty good in the games I saw. Like they improved and they have some foreign players or foreign playing players. But I think if they win their game, then I think they will go as the third place.
If we win Group C, we would face the third place of Group A, B, or F. And the current standings, or the current table rather, of A, B, and F, as of the recording of this Saturday night, is Tajikistan with 1 point in Group A, although that could switch between them or China. or Lebanon for that matter.
I mean, I think it's too early to even start to talk about that because we've seen all the results so far. We can't really
You can't
expect
predict.
to be sure. So let's maybe take that for the next pod probably, where we can guess or even know what teams we will play. But
Yeah,
probably a weaker team.
Yeah, the only places we even know right now, as of this recording, are Iraq and Qatar because they've already pretty much won.
But my guess
their
is that
games.
we're gonna play a team that's like kind of a similar level to UAE. So,
Yeah.
the game is very, in that sense, again, it's like super important that we send a message and we get the momentum back. And I think one thing you can say in these sort of tournaments is a lot of it, the performance in the key games comes down to the momentum and the vibe kind of around your team in general. If you're able to manage that and have a positive atmosphere, the chances are the team will do better like when it matters. And so I think, right now the focus for the Ghalenoei and the coaching staff is to get that back. Because I think after the Palestine game, there was like a lot of positivity. And then quickly we can see that even with a bad game, how ready everybody is to jump on them. So they know they have to, deliver to get that kind of back to an equilibrium before the knockout stages.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Iran knows that they have to know that they're going to get everyone else's best shot. They know that everyone else thinks that they are a favorite in this tournament. Okay, so just looking to Tuesday for the match against UAE. It is Tuesday the 23rd. It will be at, I believe that is 4:00 p.m. Central European Time, 3:00 in the UK, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, which is Chicago, Houston, where I am, and 10 a.m. New York time, and then obviously 7 a.m. on the West Coast where Sahand is. As usual, it'll be on the same streaming platforms from the first two matches in the US and Canada. I know it's on Paramount Plus. Hopefully we won't have the idiots that they had on the in the studios discussing our game, because that was dreadful. It went viral with the CBS soccer guys discussing the match. They knew nothing about Iraq. They knew nothing about Korea or Japan. It was pretty sad to see. Nonetheless, though, I like high definition streaming, so I'm thankful for that. We'll also be posting on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, as well as our pre-match Twitter space. There'll be 30 minutes before the game, as well as for about 30 minutes, starting a few minutes upon the completion of the match. So, all right, that's about it. Final words, guys. Any, I guess, score predictions then?
2-1 Iran.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna go optimistic. I'm gonna go realistically optimistic, saying that probably gonna allow another dumb goal, but I think things will wake up as the game peels away, and it'll be 3-1. So yeah, I'll just go with that. Anywho, yeah, Sahand and Pezhman, thanks for joining me again. We'll see y'all Tuesday for the match, guys. Thanks again.
Adios.
Hello, my name is Yasaman Farmani.
Hello, my name is Ali Gholizadeh, and you are listening to
Gol Bezan podcast.